Man faces death as Marathon Disables turns into a nightmare in the heart of the Sahara Desert. The sun began to peek over the horizon of the Sahara Desert, its rays slowly tearing through the silent darkness. The footsteps of hundreds of runners echoed, accompanied by the cheers and encouragement of the spectators lining the racecourse. Marco Holland, an Italian athlete, took a deep breath, preparing himself mentally for the Marathon Disables, one of the most grueling races in the world. Holland had participated in many marathons before, but this time he knew he was facing a real challenge. The Sahara Desert, with daytime temperatures reaching up to 50 degrees Celsius and sudden sandstorms, was not a place for the faint of heart. But Holland was confident in his experience and meticulous preparation. However, a strange feeling suddenly washed over him, like a bad premonition. He looked around, noticing the other runners were focused and tense. A gentle breeze blew by, carrying an unusual scent, like the smell of lurking danger. Holland had no idea that this race would be a turning point in his life. A race not only to conquer the desert, but also to survive. The race went smoothly for the first few hours. Holland could feel each grain of sand beneath his feet, the gentle wind brushing against his skin, carrying the slight heat of the desert. He maintained a steady pace, not too fast, but not too slow, to conserve energy for the long journey ahead. Suddenly, the sky began to change. A massive cloud of sand was approaching from afar, obscuring the sun. Holland immediately recognized what was happening: a sandstorm. He tried to speed up to avoid getting caught in the storm, but it was too late. The sand was blinding, swirling in the strong wind, making it impossible for him to see anything. Holland felt like he was being swallowed by a giant sand monster. When the storm passed, Holland realized he was lost. There were no traces of the racecourse, no sound of other runners' footsteps. All around him was sand and sand, stretching endlessly to the horizon. Holland tried to stay calm, recalling the survival skills he had learned. He decided to walk in what he thought was the right direction, relying on the sun and his instincts. Day after day, Holland faced the harsh challenges of the desert. During the day, the temperature rose to unbearable levels, causing him to lose water rapidly. At night, the temperature plummeted, leaving him shivering in the biting cold. His food and water supplies dwindled, forcing Holland to find ways to survive on what this barren desert could offer. Holland knew that to survive, he needed to find water. He had learned how to search for water from signs of nature plants, depressions in the ground that might hold groundwater. Every day, he spent hours digging, hoping to find a little water to sustain life. The rare drops he found became his only hope to continue his survival journey. Food was also a major problem. Holland had seen on television how people ate insects to survive, and now he was forced to try it himself. Bugs, spiders, or any creature he could find became valuable sources of nutrition. Each time he ate, he had to overcome disgust and fear, but the survival instinct made him stronger. During the long, lonely nights in the desert, Holland often dreamed of his family. Images of his wife and children always appeared in his mind as a source of motivation to not give up. He told himself that he must survive, must return to his loved ones who were waiting. Every morning, Holland started a new day with the hope that today would be the day he found rescue. There were times when Holland felt like he was about to collapse. His body was exhausted, his mind weary. But each time, he remembered the reason he had to survive. He couldn't let his family lose the father, the husband they cherished. Holland tried to regain his spirit and continue the arduous journey. After many days of wandering aimlessly, Holland began to feel hope fading. But one morning, as he was walking in fatigue, he saw a glimmering light in the distance. It was a caravan on camelback. Holland couldn't believe his eyes, but he still tried to move towards it. With heavy footsteps, as if weighed down by stones, Holland mustered his last bit of strength to move towards the light of hope. Each step felt endless, and the shadows of the caravan gradually blurred in his hazy vision. Holland felt his legs losing strength, his body crumbling, his head spinning. In the final moment, Holland collapsed onto the sand, the light from the caravan just a small dot in his sight. Before passing out, he heard voices echoing from afar, footsteps approaching. Then darkness enveloped him. When he woke up, Holland found himself lying in a simple but cozy tent. He could feel the caring hands, the worried eyes of the Tuareg nomads. They had found him in an exhausted state and brought him back to their camp. Holland was cared for, fed, and gradually recovered after the terrifying days in the desert. Holland was brought back to Italy, where his family and friends were anxiously waiting. The story of his survival journey became a miracle, admired by many. Holland not only returned to his family, but he also returned with a stronger heart, a more resilient soul. The days lost in the Sahara Desert taught Holland many valuable lessons. He understood that life is not just about existing, but also about the constant struggle with life's challenges. Holland became a symbol of unwavering will and the hope that never fades, even in the most difficult circumstances. The fateful race was not only a physical challenge, but also a mental one, requiring perseverance, courage, and the determination to never give up. Holland overcame it all to return from the brink of death, carrying the story of survival and the indomitable spirit of humanity against harsh nature.